the changeup, and that's probably because when I was a pitcher, I wasn't a stuff guy. I had to trick guys. But I think even if you're a stuff guy, it's the most devastating pitch. You could talk to offensive guys, and the changeup is the pitch they hate more than anything. More because they could see spin on a breaking ball and maybe a slider, but they can't see the difference in a changeup if it's thrown the right way. I think some important traits of a changeup is it's not a great pitch unless it's over the plate and down. Okay. You could have the most devastating change in the world, but when you're going to throw it in plus counts, if it's not a strike, now you're just burying yourself in a deeper count. The changeup that I used to teach, I know the circle is everyone's favorite. That's the one that everyone gets caught up in. I have never taken a circle away from a pitcher if he could command that. What I like to teach is what I call the moderated circle. And that's where it's the pitchfork with the three fingers, the thumb on the side of the ball, and the pinky either on the side of the ball or off the ball, depending on your grip strength. The changeup needs to be thrown like an unboiled unboiled egg. You can't squeeze it. You got to stay nice and supple. And as many years as I throw BP, Walter, and I have pride and I have an ego. When guys would start getting the barrel to me and hitting balls over the fence, all I do is take a little bit off the next pitch, and they'd pop it up or hit a weak ground ball and get frustrated. So that just tells me even more how important. And that mine wasn't even a great changeup. It just taken a little bit off my fastball. It screws with hitters, and they don't like it because you're throwing it in their counts when they're expecting the heater and they're getting something soft.
I want to be able to talk a little changeup, because one of the things I used to always do as a hitter was I would be so frustrated with changeup that I would go to guys, and I was a catcher, and I would say, I got to know how you throw in that pitch. And one of the things that they told me was these two fingers are the accelerator fingers, meaning when I hold that four seam, I'm going to get acceleration with these two fingers, your middle finger and your index finger. When I'm going to throw my changeup, as Coach Serrano just said, when I put that pitchfork up and I have these three fingers, I really want to hold that ball with my ring finger a little bit. And how I taught Tyler how to throw this pitch was just like this.
Yeah,
and so
that's
Tyler
exactly,
learned that finger, your ring finger, that ball was coming off of that finger and being guided by the middle and the pinky. And he would just get it for feel, but it was really these three fingers and with the pinky and the thumb over here.
Yeah.
And Dave, when I tell you he would play catch with the changeup from the age of 8. And I have parents that push back and coaches that do teaching lessons. Oh, you don't have enough arm speed. You can't teach a changeup. I'll never forget, as long as I live, when Tyler was in high school, he could dot a fly's rear end with his fastball and his changeup, but he didn't throw hard. He threw 89, 92. And then somebody kept telling him, you got to throw hard to make money. And they focused on velocity, and all heck broke loose. But teach the changeup, and I promise you, you'll pitch for a long time.
I was very fortunate, Walter, as a young player and a young coach, to be around a guy named Wally Kincaid, who was the legend at Cerritos College. He was the John Wooden of JC baseball in California. And Wally Kincaid was the one that sold me on the changeup. And I'll never forget him telling me one day, everybody could be changed up on. And he used to call it pulling the string. And out in the West Coast, they used to call it a dead fish. You were like throwing a dead fish to a hitter because it just never gets there. And no one will ever convince me that a changeup is not the best. Strike one is the best pitch. Strike one is everyone's best pitch. But if you have a good changeup and you could feed it off your fastball, you can baffle hitters as long as possible. You brought up the 2007 team. I had a little right-hander named Scott Gorgon that probably was 88, 89.
Yep.
He had a devastating changeup. He hardly even threw a breaking ball. And he kept guys. He had some downhill angle to his fastball and a lights-out changeup, and he just ate teams up because they don't see it. They don't recognize it. And hitters, again, we give hitters too much credit. They don't have as much discipline as sometimes as pitchers we make them out to be.